So I'm going to have to use the F word in here. But the way you're supposed to do this prior to square roots is factor. You got to make one side 0. Please take away 36 from both sides. X squared minus 36 equals 0. This is the difference of two perfect squares. Is x plus 6 times x minus 6 equals 0. And then you let each one equal 0. You let the x plus 6 equal 0. You let x minus 6 equal 0. You solve each one. If I subtract 6, this x is a negative 6. If I add 6, this x is positive 6, and there's my 2 plus and minus 6. That's why we get plus and minus 6 the way you do even roots. If it's an even root, plus or minus or even, 4th root, square root, 6th root, we get a plus and minus. If it's an odd, you're only going to get one answer. That's if we're finding just a simple real number. If it's going imaginary, we got a whole another. But right here, plus and minus. So look at this deal. If I let x equal 3, and I'm just making up the number. I'm picking the number, and I'm picking it with a reason. Y would be, because there's two things here, a negative square root 1 plus 3. It would also be a y equals positive square root 1 plus 3. Plus or minus, I have to split it into 2 parts. Plus or minus square root 1 plus 3. So now I get y equals negative square root 4. So y equals negative 2. Y equals positive square root 4. So y equals positive 2. So x was a 3 ordered pair. And we got a negative 2. And then x was a 3. And we got a positive 2. For that one value of x, I got 2 y values, not a function.
So there we would y equals -2 to 0. Oh, never mind.
So not a function. Not a function. But I could tell you that right now because y is equal to 2 different answers, a plus and a minus, for a single x that you're plugging in. Now, number 19. Can they just cut off your shoulder and leave the arm? That got to done with it. Yeah. Right. X squared plus y squared equals a 4. Now, you will learn, if I haven't actually, again, you gotta bear with me because what I do in here versus what I've done in the Tuesday, Thursday, I think I should have done this for both of you guys. That's the equation of the circle. When you have an x squared and a y squared, x squared and y squared, and they have an equal coefficient in front of them, like 1 times x, 1 times y squared. If it's the same ratio of x squared to y squared, if it's like 5x squared plus 5y squared, it's still a circle, equal or constant. It's 12x squared plus 12y squared, still going to be a circle because you can always factor 12 out. Now, if you have different values, like 12 and that's a 5, then you have an ellipse. It's elongated. Those are the conic sections. And that's going to be a circle with a radius of 2. Because when we get to the conic sections, it looks like this: x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals the radius squared. Okay. In that equation, h and the k is the center of the circle. Do you see a parenthesis? That means h is a 0. It would be x minus 0 squared. You see a parenthesis over here? No. That means we need y minus 0 squared. So the center would be at 0, 0. H equals 0, k, well, h equals 0, k equals 0. Over here, the center is at h comma k order pair. And the radius squared, so the radius squared is a 4, take the square root. Now, the radius, now, I know I'm going to contradict what I've been saying. Radius is a length, always positive on length. So it's not plus or minus 4 because the radius is a length.
Also, the answer.
Well, no, that's not the answer. I'm just giving you what's going on. I'm just giving you what that's going to be, why it's going to be, and it's going to look like this. The radius is a 2. So you've got the center 0, 0. This radius is a 2. Okay. It looks like that. Okay. So you can see, because it's a circle. Now, I remember where we did this. We had to solve for y and plug in into the calculator and watch it graph back in 1.1. That's where I remember we did this. I'm not crazy. Well, you can now look, hey, vertical line test, that's not going to be a function. That's not how you're supposed to do the problem, but that's basically what's going to be happening. Here's how we expect to do this problem. Solve for y. Subtract x squared. And now you have y squared equal to 4 minus x squared. And then we're solving to take the square root of both sides. So the value of y is plus or minus the square root of 4 minus x squared. When we graph this on the graphing calculator, you had to plug in 2 equations. To get the top half of the circle, you plugged in the positive 4 minus x squared. And to get the bottom half of the circle, you had to plug in, this was y sub 1, this is y sub 2, the negative square root of 4 minus x squared. You got to plug in both equations to graph. But again, here's why it's not a function. When I plug in one answer for x, I'll get 2 different answers for y. If I plug in 0, let x equal 0, y is going to be plus or minus the square root of 4 minus 0 squared. So y is equal to plus or minus square root of 4. So y is equal to plus or minus 2. So when I plug in 0, I get a negative 2. I also get a positive 2. Not a function. But I can tell when I get the plus and minus. Okay. Then look at 21. On 21, y equals the square root of x squared minus 1. Function or not a function? So remember, determine if y is a function of x. Here, we had to solve for y ourselves. It wasn't given to us. And when we did, we got a plus or minus. Y is already solved for us. Do we have a plus or minus? So when I plug in, I can't put 0 in. That'll get to the next piece. We'll talk about domain later. You can't take square roots of negatives. When we graph, it's only going to be real numbers. You can't take the square root of a negative number. If you try to let x equal 0, then you would get y equals square root 0 squared minus 1. So y equals square root 0. Y equals not a real number. We're not going imaginary. So we're staying in the real world, staying in the real numbers. So the first value you can actually use would be positive 1. 1 squared minus 1, y equals square root 1 minus y equals square root 0, y equals 0. Did I get 2 answers or 1? Now, hey, of course you don't get plus or minus 0, it's going to be 0. Okay, well, maybe that's just a trick. I don't care what you're picking next, let's just pick 2. Y equals square root 2 squared minus 1. So y equals square root of 4 minus 1, y equals square root of 3. Not plus or minus, but just square root 3. One answer. When I plug in 2, one answer. I don't get 2, I get 1. That's a function, because there's no plus minus. So the difference is in 19, you had to solve for y, which means you had to take the square root of both sides because it was y squared. And when you solve, you got to put plus and minus and take the square root. Here, it's already done. There's no plus minus there. So don't do something that ain't there. Don't, hey, the last one versus this one. Each one is unique.
How about 29?
Good question. Good question. Every linear equation, every single linear equation, except one of the 2 special cases, is a function. Every linear equation is going to be a function. So if it looks like y equals mx plus b, that's going to be a function, no matter what. One of the 2 special cases is not. Because the other ones, anything that looks and has a slope and an x and then a plus b with an x and a y, x and y, they look like this. If you got a positive slope, you're looking like this. Positive slope rises. If you have a negative slope, then it falls. All of those pass the vertical angles. The 2 special cases are the horizontal and the vertical. Which one is the vertical or horizontal? Which one passes the vertical line test? Okay, to pass the vertical line test, you only intersect, the vertical line only intersects the graph in at most 1 point. So it's a horizontal. So if you pass, you're a function. If you fail, you're not a function. So if you are horizontal, and we drag a vertical line across you, you're never going to get intersected in more than one place. There's no x that has 2 y's. But when you're vertical, okay, when you're vertical, think about it. In order to be vertical, x is a constant. So let's make this, 5. So this might be 5, -1. This might be 5, -4. This might be 5, +4. This might be 5, 8. This might be 5, 3,826. But the x's are all the same number. Vertical lines are the only ones. So this one right here, not a function. That's a vertical. This one, horizontal, that's a function. Okay, one person absent. Absent last week, so hopefully it's doing better. And that's it. We'll finish 1.3. And actually, my bad. On the 16th, we move the camera over here. On the 16th, the quiz is on 1.3. I know I never keep up with this thing. Very good. Wait. Next Monday, quiz 1. Yeah, okay.
Today we went 1.3.
Yeah, we started 1-3. That's all 1-3.
Oh, yeah, is it tutor on campus?
Yes,
How does that work?
it's a TiVo. So that the flyer that I posted on Canvas right here. Announcements. Here's the flyer. The TiVo is available Mondays and Wednesdays from 11 to 12 in the Learning Center, R1B, or online via Zoom. And so that is in Canvas in the announcements. And if you just go into the STEM Center, there's always tutors in the STEM Center.
That's where I go.
Yeah. And I'm here Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm available from 11 to 12, or basically 11 to 11:15 or 12. And then I'm also available in the morning, which you work, from 7:30 to 8. Also, I do Fridays at 9 o'clock, but you gotta let me know and I'll send you the link.